Kansas City Chiefs Power Hour. I'm your host, Richard Smith, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs. Today we're going to touch base on Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. You know, obviously Mahomes has had a lot of hype since we've drafted him last year and went ahead and shipped off Alex Smith to the Redskins. But now it's being brought to the board that Andy Reid is comparing Mahomes to Brett Favre. You know, I've heard this comparison quite a few times here in the last couple of months, and I really have to agree with it. You know, with Mahomes' pocket presence and how he keeps his eyes downfield, and he's always trying to make or create a play. You know, that's Brett Favre-esque. Mahomes' arm is even bigger cannon than Favre. I think that he has a higher skill set than Brett Favre, and I'm really excited to see what Mahomes brings to the table. I think we might have the next Tom Brady here. And I don't want to speak too soon, but this kid has got it all. And he's surrounded by weapons, with Hill, Hunt, Kelsey, and Watkins. We don't even know what Watkins is going to do yet. We have two huge question marks on our offense right now, but it's the best question marks that I think, as the Chiefs, as a franchise, I think it's the two best question marks that we've ever had before. So I look at this offense and I look at, what the season will bring, and I see our first game is, a divisional game against the Chargers, and then at the Steelers. Then we host the 49ers for our first home game, then the Broncos and the Jaguars. Our first month is tough. We have a really, really, really difficult start to the season, and I really think that our offense is gonna come out on fire. I don't think that we're gonna be the past Kansas City Chiefs. Not even the last 5 years, but 10 to 15 years before that, where we just started out every season slow, extremely slow, and we just looked stagnant, like we didn't do anything in the off season. With the key additions that we have to our offense, and Andy Reid is such a quarterback coach, and he does an amazing job of molding and shaping a quarterback into what we need for our offense. Our O-line is spectacular. Kareem Hunt coming out of the backfield, being able to stretch the field more so than we already do. But, you saw Kareem Hunt make that spectacular catch against the Patriots last year. It was like a 65-yard touchdown. And that's what he brings to the table. This kid can run. This kid, he is a powerhouse. He'll run over you. He'll run through you, over you, around you. He's got speed. He's got hands. And he's got a really good presence on the field, especially in an open field. I look at all those weapons, and I look at our offense, and we will be unstoppable. The excitement for the Kansas City Chiefs organization has never, ever been like this. I've been a Kansas City Chiefs fan for 34 years, and I've never been this excited. But I've also we've never gone into a season with so many question marks, on offense and defense. But when you let go of the number one rated quarterback in the league from the year before, and you move on to this young gunslinger that has more potential than any quarterback that has come out of college, and I'd probably say the last 20 years. I mean, I can't think of one that's had the hype that Mahomes has had. They say he's got moxie, he's got an arm, he's a leader. He's taken control of this offense and made it his, and I really like that. I don't see too many big time question marks for the offense. I just think that the NFL as a whole and its fan base, they don't know what to expect from Mahomes. So you don't want to really have your hopes too high, unless you're a Kansas City fan. We won a Super Bowl, and I greatly think that's where we're going to go. When we look at the defense, I'm going to move over to the defensive side of the ball here real quick. There's more question marks on the defense than we've probably had in the last 7 years. But I also look at the group of guys that we have right now. And, our depth chart isn't really looking that bad. And when you hear analysts and ESPN and even players talk about the Chiefs, they bring up these question marks on the defensive side of the ball. But I look at our roster, our depth chart is amazing. Yeah, we lost some key players. You can't really replace a defensive stud like we had at cornerback and Peters. But we went out and got Kendall Fuller. Then we went out and we got David Amerson. Followed by Anthony Hitchens. I really like what I see out of Reggie Ragland. D Ford's always been impressive. I look for Eric Berry to come back and have a phenomenal year. Steven Nelson, this is his year. It's kind of do or die for Nelson. I'm surprised that we kept him. He's got to step up and show us something. We really have an extremely talented defensive side of the ball. Chris Jones coming back. He was a quiet success in Kansas City. He didn't really get the credit that he deserved last year. Xavier Williams, I'm happy to have him. That was a really good pickup. Alan Bailey's been consistent. We still have Justin Houston. It's looking really good for us. And no matter what the analysts say, they always talk down about the Chiefs. Something about the Chiefs. The Chiefs can't get over that hump. The Chiefs can't do this. The Chiefs can't do that. Well, look out this year. I think the only question mark that I have, period, on our entire team would probably be David Amerson. And reason being, I hadn't heard too much about Amerson before he came over to Kansas City. The only exposure that I have to Amerson, with us being in the AFC West with the Oakland Raiders, is when we play them twice a year. But you can't really get a good look on a cornerback when you have the fastest receiver in the league who is just torching everybody. Amerson got burnt 2 or 3 times this year by Hill. And that's one of those things that everybody got torched by Hill. So how do we look at Amerson, as a whole? I've talked to a few Oakland Raiders fans, as against the grain as that is. And, they had some good things to say about Amerson. So I really look for him to do good. They got him behind Nelson right now, which really, kind of blows my mind a little bit. Steven Nelson has been a really, really shaky part of our depth chart. I've never been a big fan of Steven Nelson. I think that Amerson is probably going to go ahead and take that starting role from him. I'd be shocked if that didn't happen. I look for the turnovers still. I look for the sacks. I look for the big plays from our defense. From what they said from minicamp and things like that. The team has come together so much, and the excitement in the organization. The will to show up every day and work hard and come together as a unit. You can tell this team is. They want it. They're hungry. I've never seen a Kansas City Chiefs team like this. And, let's keep it real, Kansas City. If you're a fan, and you've been a fan of Kansas City for a long time, and if you live in Kansas City, we all know that everybody is a diehard Chiefs fan. You all are probably as excited as you've ever been about any Kansas City Chiefs team. I can't even... This isn't anything like the Chiefs team of the 90s. This is better. I think that we've got the potential to be a dynasty. I don't I don't see anything holding us back except ourselves. We have the two best man wide receivers in the game, and I mean man coverage wide receivers, bump and run, get out in the open field and just dust you, and that's Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins. And as an offense, I mean that's really all that you need is getting guys out there and spreading out the defense, and just running vertical. I think that's going to be our huge attack this year. I think it's going to be fun. The sky is the limit. This is probably going to be the longest summer of my life. I'm pretty impressed with everything I'm hearing about the Kansas City Chiefs. The AFC West is looking tough. But you just hear all this praise of Mahomes from Tom Brady and Andy Reid and everybody in that locker room, Travis Kelce. They're saying this cat's making throws that they've never seen before. Pulling off just some of the most miraculous throws and just impossible throws that they've ever seen. And that's the quarterback that I want on our team. I'm really happy that we, waited and got Mahomes and we didn't go after, the quarterback from Clemson, Deshaun Watson. That would have been a great pickup for the Chiefs too. But I think we hit the gold mine with Mahomes. That draft class, as far as quarterbacks, has been stellar so far. No complaints out of any of the top three quarterbacks that have been drafted. And we've yet to see what Mahomes can do. We've seen what Watkins and what's the other quarterback's name in Chicago? Oh, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he's been Trubisky, Mitchell Trubisky. He's been a highlight too. You really can't look at any of these quarterbacks and say that any one of those teams made a mistake going after them. It worked out brilliant for Houston. You see Watson's first year. Unfortunately, it ended early. I look for him to come back and just have a phenomenal year. And I think that's one of the teams that the Chiefs are going to have to look out for. We might see them in the playoffs. The AFC West in general is just looking tough. Denver going out and getting Keenum. Oakland's bringing guys in. And Gruden going back. The Chargers are stepping up. And, I don't really ever worry about the Chargers. They've always just kind of been a splash in the pan. The only time the Chargers has really ever been a threat in the league in my lifetime was when they had the likes of LaDainian Tomlinson running all over the field. So, but you look at this division this year, and it really is wide open, for the Chiefs to have our breakout year this year. We're going to need it. We need it. The Raiders are looking good. The Broncos, I need to see something out of Case Keenum and the Broncos offense before I can really say anything about them too. We all know the Broncos defense always shows up. Who did they pick up in the offseason? Do they have any receivers? I haven't heard much about the stagnant Broncos other than them, John Elway scrambling to get a quarterback. But in this league, it's not hard to get a stellar quarterback right now. You look at the NFC, the Arizona Cardinals are the only team who don't have a top-tier quarterback. And, when I look at the worst quarterback in the NFC, I'm looking at Dak Prescott. He's not really showing me much, but if that's the lowest tier quarterback that you have in the NFC, wow. I mean, The NFC is killing it with quarterbacks. The AFC has great quarterbacks. This really is the time of the quarterbacks. There's probably 20 quarterbacks in the league right now that can pick apart any defense. So it's about putting up points, and Big Red understands that. He looks at where the league's at right now, and he looks at all the high flying offenses, and looking at what we're going up against in the AFC West, and then even in the NFC, I look for the Packers to make a strong comeback. Who knows what the 49ers are going to do? The Eagles, the Rams. Oh man, the Rams are going to be tough. That's one of the teams that might be my early Super Bowl prediction. I think my Super Bowl prediction is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Rams. They both just have star-studded, packed teams, and you can't really argue with that. The Eagles, yes, of course, the Eagles are going to be back. We all know Tom Brady's going to be back. But this is going to be the year where the Chiefs shut everybody up. And I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, and, as a Chiefs fan, every year is the year. And that's something that we've dealt with, but we love our team. Especially Eric Berry coming back, the heart of our team, he's a class act. He's the motivation, behind our team. Just getting him back, his bravado and his presence in the locker room, on the field. It's huge for the Chiefs. It's huge for the defense. It's huge for the organization. You can't replace an Eric Berry. You just can't. But you put Eric Berry with David Amerson and Kendall Fuller. I'm looking at this secondary, and I'm kind of excited. I'm looking at our linebackers, and I'm excited. Houston's back. We got Anthony Hitchens, Reggie Ragland, D Ford. That's a heck of a good linebacking core, and we have depth. And then we go out and we got Alan Bailey, Xavier Williams, Chris Jones, Jarvis Jenkins, Derek Nottie. We just got him in the draft. We're looking good. We're looking good. I don't think August could get here any slower. I just can't find a spot on this roster that gives me red flags. Our roster is extremely young. Extremely, extremely young. And I love that. We're going to be around for a while. This is going to be a team that should be around for the next 5 years. And I look for it to be a dynasty, Kansas City. This is an exciting year. 2018 is really, really going to be a turning point for the organization. We got a winner at quarterback, and we've been lacking that. We've had the Alex Smiths and the Trent Greens, the Joe Montanas, the Steve DeBergs. We've had some talent, but we've never had that guy since old Lenny Dawson. But we got that guy now. When you let go of the number one rated passer in the league who threw for over 4,000 yards and had just 4 interceptions and 27 touchdowns, you got to be pretty confident in what you have underneath of him if you're just willing to cut that loose. So, I've always listened to Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, and he's never really been a big fan of the Chiefs. He always picks us apart. He does not like Alex Smith, conservative, pedestrian, not willing to take chances, would rather manage the game than try to win the game. But when you hear the rant from Stephen A. Smith after the draft and free agency, when we shipped out Alex Smith, then Mahomes became the starter, then we got Sammy Watkins, and then you look at all the other playmakers that we have. I mean, they can play ball. They can play ball. Stephen A. Smith even said they're trying to get a high-powered offense in Kansas City, and we pulled it off. And he said it, in free agency, we are one of the top 3 teams in the AFC right now. Right now, we haven't even played a game. We don't even have our starting rotation set. And we're already one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. And I say we're one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. There's some really good talent out there right now, and this is it's a great time for the Chiefs to really step it up and show the league what they're made of. Show them that we can go back into Philly and beat them like we did last year. We can beat the Patriots. We beat the Broncos, we beat the Raiders. We need to get over that hump with the Steelers. If we beat the Steelers this year, I feel really good about the rest of the season. It's looking real good. And that's week 2. I'm excited about that. That's a huge game. I'm glad we have them early. We always seem to play Pittsburgh later in the season. And, when they get their momentum, and they're a really dynamic team. And I think that if we can get them early in the season before they mesh well, there's a ton of problems in Pittsburgh right now. And we're young. I think we can take it to them this year. I think we got a good chance. I think we got a good chance of winning the West. I think we have a good chance of winning the AFC Championship. I would love to see us in the Super Bowl. How great would that be? We win the Super Bowl and, not next year, but the following year, the NFL draft is in Kansas City. And it's, speaking of the draft, look at Andy, Brett Veach and Andy Reid have done an amazing, amazing job since they've been here. Their draft picks, wow. So as we drag our feet through the most boring football month of the year, July, there's not really a whole lot going on. We got training camp, so we're doing roster cuts, really just putting the pieces together, trying to mesh as a team, get timing down. It's going to be an interesting summer. It's probably the best outlook the Kansas City Chiefs could have. And as a fan, an analyst, and a host, I have to say, I can't really be too partial on too many things, because this is, as a host, you got to be open-minded. You talk about lots of different subjects and teams and players. But I am a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan. I was born and raised in Kansas City, and I have always loved the Chiefs Kingdom. It's been a great organization, and it's a great city, and it's a second to none. Kansas City is just such a great sports city in general. Sporting KC, the Royals, the Chiefs. It's just a great place to be. So this kind of concludes the first power hour of Kansas City Chiefs. There's not too much to really talk about right now. It is July. There's not a whole lot going on as far as the process of the NFL and getting back into the season. So the first few podcasts will, be a general overview on the team and kind of what's going on, current events. But yeah, I can't wait to get into preseason and get a few games under our belts and be able to talk about some of the rookies and where we're headed. So this is Richard Smith, and this is the Kansas City Chiefs Power Hour. This is the first broadcast. I look forward to doing this every week.